Welcome and good morning. We're here today to talk about why the village model, as opposed to the more traditional older adult and adult services. I'm Tina Serota from JFS's Lynn Kramer Village by the Shore in Margate, New Jersey. I've got lots of information to share in a short time. So if you have questions, write them down and I'll answer as many as I can if time permits. And if not, you'll have my contact information on the last screen, so that feel free to contact me at any time after the program. I'm always happy to help. Now, let's get that screen share going here. There we are. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes, Tina, we can see it. It does have the slides over to the left, but if that's the way you would like it shown, that's good to go. There's no speaker notes at this point, I don't believe.
Okay, let me just see if I can put this down. No. Okay, well, my issue is I don't know how to do it in a different way. So I'm just going to start going and pop them up.
That looks great.
Okay, so here we go. So why a village? Why were we beginning to look at a village at Jewish Family Service? You can see some statistics here that we were anticipating, some that happened, some in anticipation. And honestly, this one that it says 2030, well, by last year, 2023, we already hit the 1 in 5 being over 65 throughout the country. Also, of that, the 85 plus was the fastest growing segment of that. And also women living alone were a large chunk of that 85 plus in age. The other things we were looking at is that there was an increase in diversity of race, religion, and LGBTQ. You can also see some life expectancies here, and we continue to grow that. So what do you need to age well? We've already in some of the other sessions talked about you need affordable and accessible housing and safe housing. Of course, hopefully where you already are, whether it's an apartment, a condo, or a home, offers you that. And you also need a neighborhood of engagement, which contributes to the health and well-being through providing a support system throughout your lifetime and opportunities for social engagement. So how does a village start to answer those questions? Well, we allow our older adults to remain in their homes and community. And in our case, we have found that it really delayed, and in many cases, not just the possibility, but ever having to enter institutional care. Also, our members remain independent in making the choices of the type of services that they use and when and how, and if they use them because they need them, or also importantly, because they want them. Our village also encourages volunteerism and the types of volunteerism, and that has tremendously reduced isolation. It creates also a large sense of community. We've also found that our seniors are much more likely to ask for services if they're also helping in providing services. We also continue to ask those questions, and they really became to a head when we watched our island, which consists of Atlantic City, Ventnor, Margate, and Longport, quickly becoming a 55 plus community 3 seasons of the year when the kids and grandkids all went home. We also, of course, have that increasing lifespan, which we spoke to, but on top of that, there's that changing family configuration and the lifestyle, so that model of family, helping family, is no longer viable. We as an agency needed to find a cost-effective way of assisting our seniors with aging well in place. That meant that we had to think about how could we broaden our services and change our agency's image to a younger, larger population that would, and still at the same time, provide services to our oldest old. We also had additional issues too that I think many of us have faced, and that is that you have to reframe the way that we think as a community about aging by combating the stereotypes and emphasizing the positive parts of aging. And at the same time, you need to be able to offer community-based support to age well at home by services, events, and programs and also to be able to respond to the members' needs and again, their wants. So what we did was we put together a program based on a village model, but we call ours a hybrid. We broke it up into 4 parts: members, volunteers, service partners, and events and programs. So here's membership. You can see what we charge, a nominal fee for membership. And as a member, you also get all of the services listed. And we found that door-to-door transportation was among the most important and definitely the largest used. Our drivers are JFS employees that are background checked, screened, and trained as village drivers. We also offer meal delivery, in-home grocery shopping, friendly visits, and weekly phone check-ins. And these are done again by background check, screened, and trained village volunteers. And of course, we offer the social and cultural programs. We have access to our vetted service partner network of local businesses, agencies, and restaurants. We also, because we're under that larger umbrella of JFS, we can also offer senior counseling and therapy. We can also offer our food pantry, which at this point we have expanded to include a diaper pantry, which, believe it or not only has Pampers, but now we have lots of Depends in there. We also can offer care coordination, or as many social workers know it, case management, just a little softer version. And of course, that important volunteering. So what do you do if you're a volunteer? Well, our volunteers give freely of themselves. They infuse our village with their creativity, their energy, their knowledge, and most importantly, their care. Back in 2017, when the national government sort of threatened to either end or lower the funding for our retired senior volunteer corps, which we are a part of, it's nationwide, we decided across the country to do a study and give them dollars, because that's what Congress understands. So we found that nationally, our retired senior volunteers, we had 62.6 million volunteers that did 7.8 billion hours of volunteering, and importantly, saved local business and agencies across the nation 184 billion with a B, $billion. And of course, because of that, Congress did not cut our funding. We are still here and running strong. So those are the benefits to the community. What are the benefits to the volunteer? Well, they have a lower mortality rate by about 7 years. They have greater physical and mental functionality, less depression, because they're doing a lot of physical and social activity. And they wake up every day with a sense of purpose. And that is so important. Our volunteers are strengthening their own support system while they're helping to maintain and build our communities. So what can the volunteers do? Well, they teach and facilitate our classes. They do friendly visits, phone check-ins, meal delivery, grocery shopping, but they also help with our fundraisers and office assistance. They stock our pantry, they pack bags. We fed over 600 families at Thanksgiving, and I had people who were in their upper 90s coming in to pack bags for those families. And of course, we do have our food pantry and our diaper pantry that they volunteer in. And important for us is our volunteers are also additional eyes and ears, and they also socialize with our members. And that's creating a socialization experience every time they drop off food, every time they do a phone check-in, not just for the senior receiving it, but for the volunteers themselves, many of whom are also seniors. So what are our service partners? Well, we decided up front that we needed to reach out to the local agency community, as well as business community that provide the services that we as an agency don't. We now have a vetting in place where we find out how they do business, how they're licensed, how they're insured, because we really don't want money, cash money, passing between anybody's hands. So that's what they do for our neighborhood, including they also offer discounts to a lot of our seniors. But what does that do for the business? Well, it helps us, the local businesses and agencies, grow their client base while providing services. We advertise them free of charge monthly in our village event flyer. Also, not only do our members recommend them, but all of our staff and our volunteers. And now I'm also recommending, as are our staff and volunteers, to the entire local community, not just village members. So what kind of events and programs do we do to stay social? Well, we offer coffee klatch, current events beyond the headlines. And coming up, we have our second congressional district candidates. We've offered them invitations to come speak to us. Several have already accepted. We also have memoir writing, which is done by a professor who's a volunteer from Drexel University. We have comfort cooking. We have lunch around town where we support our local businesses, a different restaurant every month, especially in the off season here. We have creative arts. Again, another village volunteer. I believe she's in her upper 80s or 90s. She is a award-winning local artist, but she's also a retired teacher. She is phenomenal. Her command of the class situation is great. We love her. We also have a film society, also taught by a village volunteer, that we do documentaries and films. We have trips to concert. And this month we started two wonderful new programs. One called Women's Coffee and Conversation, where we are addressing with professionals women's issues that we have had from birth to death, but we haven't talked about much. And now we're talking. And we're also demanding change, and we're learning how to be the change that we want through that. And also how to reframe aging. So also, how do you sustain a program like this, where we have found that it costs us about $3,000 for each member, and yet each person is only paying in $180 a year? Honestly, the biggest lesson I've learned for that is you must always be creative and think outside the box. Very important. And also, you need to collaborate. You need to build a foundation of agencies and local businesses that will work with you to provide services and programming, and who will support the programming that you're already doing in whatever way they can. Those collaborations, I can't even put a price tag on them. They're fabulous. And also, we always continue to grow our volunteer base, because they are the backbone of everything that we do. And we also have learned that you need to grow that service partner. It really is important. So the other thing, as I said, we write for grants and donations. And how do we do that? By thinking outside the box. Because oftentimes, outside the box will get you that grant that you want. Because sometimes in a grant, there's just a small piece of what you're already doing that you really need the money for, but there's another piece of something you really hadn't considered doing yet, but now you're going to. So that's important to think about how you can do all of those things, how you can make them happen in your community. And then what about our lessons learned? Well, we learned our members can be volunteers and our volunteers can be members, and we're doing more and more of that, and to begin engaging at a much younger age. Now I'm going to put up my contact information. So if you do need to contact me, the best number is the 609-287-8872. That is best one. I get back within about 24 hours. I am going to stop the screen sharing in a minute so I can see all of you and see your hands up. Okay, so there we are. Again, I'm not
Put
seeing.
the contact info back up. I didn't get it all.
Okay, give me just a second. Let me go back to screen share. There you go. Okay. Is everybody ready for me to stop the screen share?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. There we go. Okay, so if you have some questions, I can't see everybody. Let me see if I really can't see everybody because we're in the speaker. So just call out your questions. I'm happy to answer whatever I can.
So I see that you're located at the shore. What if I want to find these services in other towns?
There is a wonderful program. It's a national program called Village to Village Network. And you can go to their website. And if you want, you can email me later and I will send you a link to their website. And you can there find the location of villages across the country that are members of the Village to Village Network. And there are lots of us out there.
I didn't see your email in there. I didn't get all of it, I guess, from the address.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is T like Tina.
Uh-huh.
There, Barbara Sullivan, who is the CEO of V2V Network.
Okay, VTV. Okay.
Yep, that's what you want. They are great. Any other questions?
How long has this program been up and running that you're involved with?
We started, I'm going to say about 10 years ago, and we have learned a lot in those 10 years. You know, we put the basic parts of it together then, and then it actually took us about 4 directors to figure out how to actually implement what we wanted to do. And that was in a year and a half. It took about a year and a half.
Do people live only in certain buildings, or is Village by the Shore a community in and of itself? Do people need to live there, or can they live anywhere in the wider community?
No, everyone is living in the wider community in their own homes. We are not a facility of any sort. Our goal is to keep everyone aging well at home, whether it's their own apartment, their own condo, their own house, so that we are part of a much larger community. We're actually a program that is under the umbrella of Jewish Family Services of Atlantic and Cape May counties.
How do you vet your service providers that you're recommending?
Pardon me, I missed part of what you said.
How do you vet your service providers?
Okay, there is an application that they need to fill out, which tells us how they're doing business. They give us some references. We need to check out their licensing and their insurance and how they take payments and their hours. And basically everything that we need to know is on that application. And then we go back again. You know, we go back again and check it out. If they pass it, then they can become part of the Village network that we recommend. If they don't pass, and some don't, then that's it. They have to either up their game or we really can't include them.
Does that include a background check?
They have to tell us how they're doing not only background checks and screenings on their employees, but how they're training their employees and how they're maintaining that training.
Do you do a criminal background check with fingerprinting?
We do that on our own employees, and also we do that. We do background checks and screenings on all of our volunteers, all of our drivers who are JFS employees. So we do that, but if it's a private business, they have to do it.
Okay. I'm going to contact you directly because I run a program in Hunterdon, and I have some questions.
Anytime, I'm more than available.
Thank you.
Asking here in the chat, what kind of employment opportunities are there for newly minted LSWs within the Village network? Lots. Because because we're under the umbrella of Jewish Family Service, we offer something called care coordination, which in a sense is a softer version of case management. So we do have our licensed social workers who work and they provide door-to-door transportation to doctor's appointments, and they actually go in with our members to the doctor's appointments to be that extra set of eyes and ears. And they're also a connection to that member's family should they want that, and give us permission, of course. We're also a connection to the members' doctors and helping them with bill pay. And we can also, of course, do anything that the social workers normally can do with the member's permission. We can see if they qualify for any additional services that they're not currently receiving. And if they do the applications and get them turned in for them, and sort of hold their hand a little bit more as they need it. And what I love about the village model is it allows people to decide how much of the service they need, when they need it, how they need it. It's also important to maintaining your independence for as long as possible and adding those supports when and if you need it. Also, is scholarship assistance for low-income people. In all honesty, it's not, simply because we're already charging such a low fee in comparison to many other villages across the country. And we're also subsidizing a Meals on Wheels program for them, heavily subsidizing that. We heavily subsidize care coordination for them. And even the rides that they take, they may be paying us $10 round trip for a ride, but we may be subsidizing that ride with $30 more because that's in reality what it's costing. So scholarship assistance at this point is not really provided. It is something that we look at. You know, if we get a grant, we switch that person into that grant if they need services that we offer that the grant allows us to give for free or at a reduced rate, and then pop them back to the regular village services for services that grant doesn't cover. Again, it's one of the benefits of being with a larger organization. Any other questions out there?
You know, I actually have a question here. So us at the Hub, we are doing a big project actually with Barbara on a national project of villages. And we're curious, it really stands out to us here being fellow friends in New Jersey that there's so few villages in New Jersey. And so I'm personally curious if you've heard others express interest in expanding this type of program in other locations, or maybe there's just something really special in the water by the shore, right? Like why there? So yeah, your thoughts on that. I would really welcome those. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I think that depending on how you want to do a village, and there's many different ways, ours is truly a unique hybrid type. And I think that's because we have JFS really subsidizing us a lot. And it is, although it's volunteer-based, we also have the ability for staff because we're being subsidized in that fashion. And that has made a huge difference for us. Yes, I have had people reach out to me from the state of New Jersey looking at it, but I think many of them have found it a difficult switch for the positions, the financial positions that they're in, to make that switch. And not only that, but I think at some point in time, the volunteer base that many agencies and social services and so forth depended on through the years really shrank tremendously when my generation of women went back to work, because we were the ones doing all that volunteering out there. And then all of a sudden it wasn't there. And that's one of the things that we also had problems with, but we also are that 55 plus community, and that piece of our town is growing rapidly, which is why we started to switch to the village model. And those are the folks that are able. You need to reach out to the senior community. And there is a grant called the Retired Senior Volunteer Corps out there. And we reached out and we got that grant, which really assisted us tremendously with that. But it's also, you need to hit the right population. And we just happen to have that demographic here of 55 plus. Younger women are working, younger men are working, and it's hard. That juggling for the younger folks is, I tip my hat to them. They are amazing.
Can I add to that? Natalie, in answer to your question, there have been several startups, one in Morristown, there's one in Princeton, but they just didn't get up and running. And I think what Tina's saying is really super important, is partnering with the local organizations that are involved with aging, that really helps villages get off the ground a little faster. So there's been attempts, and there's 2 up in North Jersey that are going for it. So,
You know, also those agencies, Barbara, that we partner with, not only support us by bringing